So we're going to do a post-mortem today, not on a dead body, although one of the candidates in the Irish presidential election does look like she has been exhumed from the grave and set before the cameras. See which one you can think I'm talking about when we play some video clips here. But I'm joined this morning by Philip Dwyer, resident and long-term contributor to Dublin in many ways, shapes and forms. Philip, I just wanted to get your slant on this. I was going to make a little video on this of my own, but I thought, you know what, you're free this morning, so why not get you hop on and give me your thoughts and opinions on what you saw last night in the Irish presidential election. And before I play the few clips, just a knee-jerk reaction or a straight shooting from the hip response. What did you make of what you saw last night?
Yeah, great to be here with you again, Rick. But what I saw last night was even like a lot worse than I actually expected. I'm not au fait with the likes of Katherine Connolly or Heather Humphreys, but I do personally know Jim Gavin and his family. So I'll just leave that at that. I do know the man for a long time. So what I saw last night was absolutely mortification, embarrassment. It really is worse than we expected. Can you imagine? Can anybody imagine if Maria Steen was at that table last night? What she would have done with those nincompoops? I would say to Jim Gavin, Jim, stick to flying airplanes and looking after aviation, what you are good at. You're no good in politics. My good friend here last night, I was watching it with him, and he said, Jim Gavin won that debate last night, and he was shit. That was his description of it, and I totally agreed with him. The other two were an embarrassment. Katherine Connolly, as you said, rose from the grave. She would be like a cat lady who's rose from the grave, somebody who's just believed in an absolutely toxic ideology all her life. And you notice with them all, they all spout words, but they don't actually say anything. You know, and the whole premise of that whole start of the debate was all to do with other countries.
Yeah.
Anyone except Ireland, the Irish, anybody who's got except the ones who are going to be paying the huge, massive wage that the president is going to receive there of 320,000 a year is it's just these people are going to go into this job and be false and pretentious at worst, at best, I should say, and at worst, just plain and utter stupid, just absolutely idiotic. I would have loved to have been at that table myself, you know, with the likes of Jim Gavin there talking. On one hand, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Rick. On one hand, he said that he disagreed with Katherine Connolly about the triple lock. Okay, that's supposed to secure our neutrality that we've had. It's written into the Constitution. I think it's written into the Constitution, but since the beginning of the state or whatever. And then on the other hand, he said we can't have neutrality because Europe is at war, Rick. Europe, the eastern part of Europe is at war because the big bad Russian and Putin is going to invade Western Europe, which is utter nonsense. A quick Google search, as I said to you earlier, on this topic, you would be able to figure out more or less what's really going on here. And it's not just quite as simple as big bad Putin wants to run in and invade Ukraine, and then after Ukraine, he's going to take Poland, and then he's going to take Germany, and then he's going to do this. Utter nonsense. They don't have the resources for that. Look up people like John Mearsheimer, Professor John Mearsheimer from the University of Chicago, I think he is. Colonel Douglas Murray, another expert on international war or conflict or whatever you want to call it. And you will learn, you know, plenty. But these guys, you know, sadly, the likes, and it makes me really, really sad to talk about this in the same vein as Jim Gavin, because I know he's more intelligent than this. He's an extremely intelligent, bright man. And I'll be doing my own podcast on this, on Jim Gavin, asking people not to vote for the guy, because it's somebody who should know better, does know better. And he called himself a Republican in the interview last night. The Republic of what? You know, the Banana Republic, the Republic of the United Nations. What is he? He's looking after the north. He's looking after the northeast inner city. Have a look at the place. Go in there. Anyone who wants to walk in there and see the place. It's like Mogadishu. It's absolutely nuts. Who was he in there looking after and making the community better for? It's not the Irish people. Not the Irish people who are going to be paying his wages if he's successful in this election. So it just beggared belief. And this other one, Heather Humphreys. I mean, there's definitely, the lift isn't going up to the top floor with that woman. As somebody said to me last night, she needs to go home and make herself a cup of cocoa or something. You know, absolutely. Just anything that was been brought up, it was diversion tactics. Well, wasn't she recently asked about fox hunting, where she stood in fox hunting, and she started talking about her family pet at home, and you know what he has for his dinner, his breakfast, dinner, and tea, or something ridiculous like that. But is it apparent now that this is what the ordinary person on the street wants to hear? Do they want to hear this gobbledygook, this spiel that actually doesn't actually divulge? There was no question. The flags, what did they say about the flags? You know, we can't have this certain amount of people, and they were all very cautious about it. You could see that it's a really tricky one for them. They don't really know how to handle this one, because they're terrified of offending the general public, the normies, because I think still at the moment the normal person understands what the flag means. It means that there was our ancestors gave their blood and guts and tears for that flag to make this country free from British rule or whatever, and they're terrified to mess around with that issue, you know. And they all basically sat on the fence about it, really, you know, except we can't let a small amount of people take the narrative of the flag. The flag is the flag. It's about Ireland. It's about the love of Ireland, and there's nothing toxic about that. Any Irish person has the right to fly their flag, and that's it. End of. So yeah, it was absolutely pathetic. That's all I can say. And I can only imagine, as I said earlier, Maria Steen, what would she have done with these people in there? She would have made them look so imbecilic. And your man, guy, trying to be a bit confrontational. I don't even know his name, because he's a far left radical, as far as I'm concerned. Cudahy. You know, yeah, he's just another one of these far left broadcasters, you know, who he's subtly trying to bring up the far right and make us out to be all these people don't have a clue what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know anything about immigration. They don't know anything about transgender. And it's not that simple, this transgender issue, Rick. Do you know that? It's not just about two genders, male and female. You know, it's more complicated than that.
Much more complicated.
You know, yeah, which is bullshit, like absolute utter crap. And this is what they'll have us believe on these mainstream channels. So I don't really know. You know, it's another clown world again.
Well, there's 2 points in particular I want to take you up on, and one of them I'm going to disagree with you on, but it's not something that we're going to fall out about. Number one, the Maria Steen business.
Yeah.
Never mind her actually becoming Irish president. Set that to the side. They knew that if she even got onto the nomination card, whether or not she won or not, if she had been in the studio last night, the very fact that people are already saying, well, I think so-and-so looked really good last night, in relation to what? Two other absolutely shambolic, scraping the bottom of the barrel candidates. So, for example, what I mean is, you and your chum were sitting having a look at this, and you thought, hey, I thought Jim Gavin came away from that far and away the leader, right? But set against what? Katherine Connolly and Heather Humphreys. Other people, and if I was watching it from the inside out, never having known any of them, just watching how they delivered themselves, how they were able to give a response to questions, even though it was delivered in the most deadpan, soulless manner, I would have had to give the nod to Katherine Connolly. And much like, you know, I'm not endorsing her, but again, set against who? Jim Gavin, who after the debate came out and said, hey, I've never done anything like this before. I've never done a live thing. I'm not a politician. And Heather Humphreys, who this time last year was saying, I'm getting a bit too tired for this. I'm getting a bit too old for this. I used to be the manager of a credit union. I'm a granny. And she was campaigning last year to abolish family and mother from the Irish Constitution. That's what I'm saying. If anyone won the debate last night, it wasn't because they were good. It was because the other two were so appallingly bad. And as you rightly said, Maria Steen, they were terrified, even of her getting on the card, because Philip, if she'd have been on the card, she'd have been in that studio last night. And if she'd have been in that studio last night, there isn't a person with a functioning brain in their head would have picked the other three candidates over her. So what I want to do is that each one of them had a little gambit. They had a little 60-second clip to position themselves to the electorate and to convince the viewers why they should be lifted. So this is for our people listening in as well from outside of Ireland, maybe wants to see, who are you guys talking about? Why are these people so bad? Are you serious? Are they really that bad? I'm just going to play a little quick 60-second clip of Heather. She's dropped her surname as well, by the way. She's not Heather Humphreys anymore. It's Vote for Heather. Just Heather, not Humphreys. Vote Heather. Trying to be like Oprah Winfrey or Beyonce or whoever else she's trying to be like. So let's
Please, Rick. Please don't do this to us, Rick.
I've seen it. You're gonna see it, but it's only 60 seconds. So grit your teeth while this is playing and see how many BS statements you can pick up in this 160-second clip, let alone what she was saying during the interview. So let me get this lady up here. Here we go. And brace yourselves, folks. Here's Heather.
I am humbly asking you to place your trust in me to become the 10th Uachtaráin na hÉireann. I want to bring my life experience to the role of president. I worked for many years as a credit union manager, where I got to know people and the challenges they faced. It was a great apprenticeship for public life. I was honoured to serve in Cabinet for over a decade. I led the 1916 commemorations, I supported businesses throughout the pandemic, and I worked hard to ensure children across our country received a hot school meal. I'm a daughter, a mother and a grandmother. All my life, I have seen the quiet strength of women in my own family, in my community, and right across this country. Women have been the ones holding things together. I can't promise perfection, but I will promise honesty, compassion and service. If you place your trust in me, I will work to the best of my ability to make you proud and be a president for all. Gura Maithagib.
There she is, Philip. There she is. So I noticed that I was jotting a few things down there. She talked about the strength of women, the power of women. She talked about mothers. She talked about daughters. She talked about her family. Is this the same woman that was campaigning fervently last year to abolish the word mother and family from the Irish Constitution? Is this the same Heather Humphreys or Heather?
Yeah, this is your example of how a soul has been sold to Satan, basically. They will just do whatever they're told to the highest bidder, whatever keeps them on the gravy train. The women of Ireland, yeah, what did you have to say about poor Ashling Murphy, who was murdered on the side of a canal by somebody that came in under your government policies? The men in the gay men in Sligo, all these people, victims of all these criminals that your government are allowing in. Not a word about that. The stuff going on in schools, this curriculum going into secondary schools, even primary schools now, teaching children about transgender and inappropriate sexual content. What have you got to say about that? Nothing. They live in this airy fairy bubble that they think that people, aren't aware of what they're actually doing. Is it some kind of psychosis, whatever you want to call it, some mental blockage that they're living in, or are they just these brilliant actors? They've become theater actors that are just out there playing a part, reading a script, and without a care or a thought of anything other than their own personal well-being, their own personal bank account, basically, and being on the gravy train. It's painful. It's absolutely painful.
You mentioned the salary as well. You talked about 230. I think it was 230 grand a year. But let's not
320,
forget. Sorry,
320. I think they said last night.
Got the 2 and the 3 row. 320, right? But don't forget, that's for 7 years. So multiply that by 7, and you're talking 2.2 million euro. So let's say Heather manages to wangle her way into the presidency. That's 2.3 million at least, bottom line, of taxpayers' money that's going to fund her in that position, plus whatever expenses she accumulates. And I noticed one other thing as well, Philip. Some people are hardcore in the Irish language. Some people, can take it or leave it. She also has been noted that she is not really an advocate for it and had refused to meet up with various Irish speaking groups to try and promote the learning and the usage of the Irish language. But interestingly, she managed to bookend her little speech there with a little flurry of Irish to start, a little flurry at the end. She must have been working overtime on that.
Yeah, no, she's trying to appeal again to the old Gael goers as well, I suppose. And there's no morals, there's no scruples there. It's just hopefully, as you say, most normal persons with a functioning brain can see through all of this, and it manifests itself now on the election day. I'm a supporter of spoiling your vote. I'm going to go in and just write Maria Steen on my ballot paper anyway, even though I'm not fully up to speed with Maria Steen. She just comes across as a lovely woman, well spoken, highly articulate, well educated, and she says some of the right things. Don't fully know exactly what she actually stands for as regards Ireland, but yeah, she does come across as to be someone who can rattle their cages, and she's obviously terrified them, Steen. They know that to put Maria Steen up against the likes of this Heather Humphreys one, I mean, it's just shocking.
It would be
unbelievable.
Do you know what would have happened last night? I think if Steen had been on, the three of them would have phoned in sick. They'd have phoned in sick and said, "Oh, I've got a terrible headache. Oh, I can't make it. Oh, had a family emergency." I don't think any of them would have showed up, because Steen as well, it must be noted that she was instrumental in the no campaign for the 2 referendum last year. And when she went on toe-to-toe with Micheál Martin, who's the current Taoiseach, she tore strips out of him on TV. And again, if he can't hold his own in a civilized debate against her, and she doesn't raise her voice, she doesn't get into histrionics, she's a qualified barrister, she's a qualified architect, she's raised 5 kids, she's homeschooling her family, right? She's a big advocate in all things good and wholesome, pro-life, everything else. But these lot couldn't stand up against her, and that's Heather Humphreys. Now let's get a quick look at Katherine Connolly, who many people are tipping the hat to after this display last night, which again says a lot. This is what will be potentially the face of Ireland on the international stage in the presidency. This is Katherine Connolly.
Georgia is Cúisbródum Shasafos Burgor agus Vota Alara Gagum Satawakon Uttaranakta. I am asking for the privilege of serving you as the 10th President of Ireland and to proudly represent this wonderful country on the national and international stage. As President and working together, we can shape a new united republic where everyone is valued, where diversity is cherished, where sustainable solutions are urgently implemented, and where a home is a fundamental human right. A country where we raise our voice for the peaceful resolution to conflicts and war, drawing on our history of colonisation, of famine, and our lived experience of the successful peace process in the north. Leabhar Ifre Hain o Luragagum an Law agus mo Vila Buiks.
So there's candidate number 2, right? So, all I'm saying, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, right? And I mean, I'm not talking about myself. I'm no oil painting. I'll be the first to admit I look like a hobo. I look like maybe I haven't washed in a long time. But then again, I am not putting myself forward to be the representative, the face and the spokesperson for Ireland or the UK or anywhere else for that matter. If I was, I might have a shave, I might put on a suit or make a bit of an effort, right? And again, I'm not making this personal. But what I'm saying is there's no enthusiasm there. There's no spark there. She, in my opinion, to give her props, did better than the other 2, but that was an extremely low bar to exceed. Okay. And again, the topic of conversation, it was just, most people that saw what they saw last night would have said there was just no life in this. And that's what I'm saying, looking at the candidates, all 3 of them, that's an argument to be made. But this lady here just looks like she's ill. She should be on a retreat somewhere, you know, get some vitamins into you, get some sunlight for goodness sake. You know what I mean? And, you know, I don't know, go and do something that makes you happy or enjoy yourself. That's what I'm saying. And that's just my take on it. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Even look at, I mean, who let her go on camera there? On her left side, even her hair is sticking out all over. I don't like talking about appearance either.
No,
but,
me neither. I'm no one to judge, but I'm not on the international stage here.
Absolutely. And she left the whatever, the makeup room or whatever, with her hair in that condition, and just like it just like she got out of bed or something. And aside from that, then her lack of care for her appearance, like, will tell you a lot about someone's character when she goes, I comb my hair before I came on with you here, Rick, you know. But it's like it's
mine never changes.
But watch her. Yeah,
so no one, I can't talk about anybody else either. That's what I mean. But I know people will jump all over and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be." Listen, I'm just saying, right? If you're running for president of Ireland as a figurehead for a country, okay, I'm just saying that if people will look at the full package, what is she saying? What are her policies? Look at Joe Biden when he was senile. He had dementia. He was shuffling around. He didn't know his arse from his elbow. He was the only man in history to fall up a flight of stairs. But yet with all this, we can't comment. The man was not capable, mentally not capable of doing that job, but yet there he was in the White House. And he was very old and decrepit, pushing 80 odd years of age. Trump's in the same position. He's 78, 79, but at least he's compos mentis, you know, and he can stand up straight and deliver with a bit of passion and a bit of energy. It's points. The point is that, even set aside anything else, Katherine Connolly's delivery is completely and utterly deadpan. It's just this and this. And the fact, look at who's endorsing her. You've got people before profit. Paul Murphy's, you know, in ecstasy over this. You've got the Social Democrats, you've got Sinn Féin, and you've got Umar al-Qadri backing this lady as well. What message is that giving out?
Yeah, I mean, what you're looking at here, thanks for taking her face off the screen, but it's like, what you're looking at there now is the face of communism. And maybe I had that bias, you know, straight away, that she didn't win the debate. You know, your opinion is different to mine, but it's like, I just look, all I can see there is a rabid communist globalist who, when you hear these words being used about diversity.
Sorry, by the way, let me make something clear. When I say won the debate, as I said, I use that term very, very loosely. I wasn't in reference to anything she actually said, the content. I'm just talking about the general delivery. At least she could give a response, whether it was good or bad, or she held herself together and didn't fluster too much, unlike the other two who were flopping about like two fish out of water. So it wasn't even a case of she won. She just didn't lose, if you understand. None of them won. They were all as bad as each other in some way. So let me make that clear. I'm not endorsing her, as you can probably gather. Sorry for interrupting.
And just for anybody who's on the fence about this lady here, like that, if she isn't a globalist or whatever, she's speaking Irish there as well, like, you know, trying to attract the, as I said, the Gaeilgeoir kind of vote as well. It's like she's doing this, and at the same time she's promoting the destruction of our country. She's promoting houses for all. She's promoting open borders. Refugees are welcome here, the same as the people who are backing her up, like people before profit, Paul Murphy or whatever, a man who doesn't even know what gender his own child is. And it's like, this is just your rank and file communist who promotes the cultural Marxist textbook of she'll come out with the racism thing, she'll come out with the unity, the diversity, the equality, the inclusion, all this nonsense that doesn't work anywhere in the world. It's so obvious now. If you go every country in Europe that has all this mass migration and these DEI policies, it doesn't work. All it does is create mayhem and division in societies. But yet they'll stand up there on a television program and a presidential debate and tell you how wonderful it is, but they have nothing to back it up. What do they do? They show some non-national plane hurling or some African girl doing Irish dancing or something like that, and that's supposed to mean that this all works, so yeah, it's just pure communist, more of Michael D. Higgins again, more of the same. She will sign off on all the draconian legislation that's put in front of her as well, the same way as Michael D. They believe in draconian policies. The communists, they wanted the tougher lockdowns, they want this gender ideology put into schools and everything else, this radical madness, and it's all to keep people divided. The demographics of bringing in loads of foreigners into the country, give them free stuff, because if they do this, these foreigners will vote them into power, and that's the reason. They don't care a jot for anybody that's suffering around the world. They care about their own line in their own pockets, basically. And she's just another typical example. She's haggard looking, unfortunately, I have to say. As you said, she should be in a home, somewhere watching the telly, and that's it, retiring gracefully, maybe, and not inflicting her toxic ideologies on the Irish people. But sure, this is where we're at in Ireland.
She mentioned as well, before I move away from her, she talked about a new united republic. She also talked about home as a fundamental human right. And this is set against the backdrop of another record-breaking month for Irish homelessness. We've now cracked the 16,000 mark for that. And of course, I'm not including people that are sofa surfing, people that are living, undisclosed homeless. The number is way, way higher than that. But the point that I'm making is those numbers are going up higher. So she's banging on about a home being a fundamental right against a rising record-breaking number of Irish homeless and a record-breaking number of people being brought into the country, allowed to come into the country and being housed at the taxpayers' expense. It's insane. And this whole business too about a new united republic, and I'm not going into this. I'm going to do a good discussion this week, hopefully, with somebody else about a united Ireland, the realities of it. What's it going to look like? Is it going to happen? Is it a fantasy? Is it a dream? Or is it imminent? Right? But they keep one thing I've noted is they all refer to a new Ireland, right? It's now being positioned as a new Ireland rather than, in their words, a united Ireland, a 32 county Ireland. It's now being positioned as a new Ireland, not a united Ireland. They're talking about a new flag. They're talking about a new national anthem. How will this all come about? I think Sinn Féin, whether Michelle O'Neill or Mary Lou McDonald, were talking about making the 12th of July a national holiday if they manage to get a united Ireland as well. So much like Heather Humphreys' attempt at Irish speaking there, that's an obvious attempt at appeasing unionists who may feel slightly shut out from all of this. But either way, let's set Katherine to the side and look briefly at Jim Gavin. Now, this is his closing statement and a little bit of post-interview assessment. And in contrast to Katherine Connolly's deadpan delivery, Jim almost looks like he's been on the caffeine and he's been shut up with espressos and he's waving his hands about and he's got the Micheál Martin hand gestures going on. Little mini Micheál here, so you can see what you think of
with a couple with 2 extra cushions under his arse there in the seat there to make him look taller.
Right. So here's Jim. You can see what you think of him.
In our country. I believe in the service to the state, and I believe in service to the people of Ireland. I believe passionately. I believe in our country. I believe in the service to the state, and I believe in service to the people of Ireland. I believe passionately about the positive role that the presidency can play. And in my career, everything that I have done, I have shown up. And as president, I will show up. I will show up locally, nationally, internationally. And what we just talked this evening about is growing division. And as president, I will be a unifying force to bring people together. And that will be my commitment to the people of Ireland.
Look at that. He turns around and he points at the camera and he's given it this non-aggressive thumb gesture where you make a fist, but then you put your thumb on top of it. That's supposed to signal intent. But if it was a fist, that would be too much. But he's added the little thumb gesture on top. Bill Clinton popularized that, by the way. His psychologist said, no, you make a fist, it's too aggressive. But if you stick your thumb on top of it, then all of a sudden you're not so aggressive. And then he's pointing at the end, gives the camera a good look there. Afterwards, this is a 10-seconder. This is what he said after the debate.
Well, yeah, like this is all new to me. You know, I'm not a politician. It was my first live debate on TV, and I'm really happy how it went. I thought it was a great discussion there, a great debate amongst the candidates, and looking forward now to hitting the road in 7 hours' time for Roscommons.
You know, looking at his watch gesture and the hand movements, you know, this is my first time at this. This is my first live debate. I'm not a politician. That doesn't exactly instill confidence, Philip.
Yeah, and the next thing we probably get is that somebody's saying mean words about him on the internet, you know, and that has to stop. But I mean, it's obvious he's after spending a couple of hours there with his media consultant guru or whatever, and he's been told, you know, this is how to approach it, this is how to look at the camera, this is how to show a bit of emotion, you know, give a bit of flair, you know. So it's cringe for me, because I kind of know the man, you know, and it's all theater. You know, he's just playing a part in a show, and it's embarrassing for me to watch this as well. I don't know, you know, I don't know what he believes in. Like, he's saying he's for the flag, he's for the republic, he's for unifying people, the people of Ireland. What do you mean now? Do you mean the Irish people, or the people who are living here? And it's like, who were never invited and never voted on. We never voted on bringing in all these people into the country like we have in the last 20 years. Why haven't you spoken up about that, Jim? You know, it's just it's all this it's his political jargon that he's trying to spin, and it's just not, it doesn't work, you know. For me, it doesn't work anyway. And to say that he's not used to this political game or whatever, he's a seasoned executive. He has to go in. Imagine going into a Dublin dressing room with 30 lads there, Gaelic footballers, having to make you have to make speeches, and you have to inspire them to go out there and play and win All Irelands, which he has done. And he's not used to speaking in public or debate. That wasn't even a debate. That was just three idiots talking nonsense, gobbledygook for an hour. That's all that was. There was nobody with really any opposing views on that debate at all, as far as I could see. You know, I just would have loved it. I would have thrown so much at him, and a whole lot of them. If I had been there myself, I would have loved it. I was just there. It's like I was fantasizing about sitting there, because for people like myself and yourself, Rick, who've been in this game for a few years now, and it's like, we know kind of basically what we're talking about. We've studied this. Like, you could say we have a degree or a PhD in what's been happening to Ireland over the last 5 or 6 years. And this is basic, simple throwbacks or questions could have gone out to these people, and they didn't. And this fool of an interviewer as well, just he lets them off the hook, you know, like tries to be like, is it this addiction to being nice to each other? Like, everybody has to be nice, you know. As far as I'm concerned, this niceness has got us where we are today. We're too nice. There needs to be a bit more. There needs to be a bit more oomph and a bit more. Listen, hold on a minute. That's nonsense now. This is what's happened over in Ukraine, A, B, C, and D. This is what's happened with mass immigration in this country. The stats are clear. Since 2003, we've gone from 3% to 28% of non-nationals living in the country now. What's this? Why is this happening? You know, can you explain this to me, Jim? Can you explain this to me, Heather? Can you explain this to me, Katherine? There's none of that. You know, they just, the elephant in the room, like I said, they won't say what it is. It's a deliberate engineered plan to destroy this country. And it's happening under their nose. And then they go, I don't know, they kind of pander around all the issues. Like, it's just pandering, you know, it's sickening, really.
It is. There was another clip I was gonna play, but I'm not gonna bother now, because it's talking about flags, but they're talking about Palestine. In fact, well, actually, do you know what? It's only a minute. I'll blast it up, where he's actually talking about he's happy to see Palestine flags flying. He's happy to see Ukrainian flags flying here. But when it comes to that flag that's hanging up behind your shoulder there, you know, that's a wee bit more contentious. You know, we can't have that in certain areas. It's going to give off the wrong impression. And of course, banging on about Gaza Gaza, Gaza, Gaza. So here they are in that particular instance talking about that.
The Israeli government are committing war crimes every single day. There's genocide. We've talked here about the bloodlust. It's horrific. The fighting needs to stop. Hamas need to hand over the hostages.
Jim, you said the military...
We need to get aid in there immediately. So what can the President of Ireland do, who's non-political, non-partisan? A President could be in solidarity with the Irish people. I'm proud to see the Palestinian flags being flown throughout the country in solidarity with the Palestinian people, along with the Ukrainian people. The President of Ireland can keep a light, keep highlighting these horrific issues that are happening internationally.
So there he goes. He said he's proud and happy to see Palestine flags flying and Ukraine flags flying as well. But again, when it comes to the Irish flag, it's proved to be a contentious issue, one that they're tippy-toeing around. He won't come out and say, I'm proud to see the tricolours lining the lampposts in Culloch or lining the lampposts on the length and breadth of the country. But when it comes to other flags, and this is the thing too, Philip, that I'm really struggling with. Listen, any suffering, any war, any violence, any death is horrendous anywhere in the world, no matter who perpetrates it. But this focusing in, I mean, how many other humanitarian crises you don't hear him banging on about what's happening in Yemen at the minute. You don't hear about the famine and the civil war and the butchering of people that's going on in southern Sudan. You don't hear about the thousands of Christians that are being murdered literally monthly in Nigeria. No, you don't hear about any of that. It's just focused in on Palestine and Gaza as if nowhere else in the world existed or they had a monopoly on suffering. And I'm sorry to see what's happening over there. And any violence committed by anybody has to be condemned. It's horrible. But come on, broaden the horizon. What's with the tunnel vision here?
Well, you see, they're not stupid, and I think there's a lot of useful idiots out there, but the people who are kind of directing, advising the likes of Jim Gavin and Micheál Martin and everything else, they're not stupid. So they know for a fact that this Palestinian cause or whatever has gained huge sympathy and traction in Ireland. So there's a huge amount of voters who are sympathetic to what's going on in Palestine. It's not rocket science to be against the mass slaughter of women and children and anybody for that matter, the mass slaughter in Ukraine of young white Russian and Ukrainian men. For what? You know, so it's not a thing, but it's like, this is where they see there's some votes in it. That's all. They're not really concerned. How many refugees has Jim Gavin or any of those candidates got living in their houses with them? Absolutely zero, I can guarantee it. So it's all fake virtue. Like, it's not. And to talk about the flags of other countries being as a president of Ireland, you know, why even talk about that? Why mention it? Your only flag that you should be really concerned about is your Irish flag and your Irish people who will be paying your wages if you're elected. And they're there to represent their best interests, not the interests of the rest of the world. But again, it's fashionable, it's trendy at the moment to be sympathetic to those causes, to the detriment of your own people.
Don't think they mentioned scoliosis, did they?
No, they didn't. Not at all. No,
or waiting lists for children that are dying as we speak in agony because they won't be operated on. Or they've been taken off waiting lists only to be reinserted when it's too late to do anything about them. Don't mention anything about that. Don't mention anything about the Children's Hospital that's years behind schedule and billions over budget. Don't mention anything about the new record-breaking numbers of Irish homeless. That's what I mean. That's what's really irking me about this, or about politicians in general. They virtue signal other issues that are happening in other countries, and in doing so are stepping over. Because Jim Gavin said, I will show up locally, I will show up nationally, and I will show up internationally. What does he mean, show up? Show up and do what?
And be Mr. Nice Guy, you know, and try to tell everyone to be nice to each other. But the stuff you mentioned there, highlighted there, those issues that you just met are really pertinent, important issues. How much time on that debate was spent on international issues, on Palestine, on Germany, Ukraine, your German sovereignty and European sovereignty and everything else, when our own sovereignty has been flushed down the toilet? Our borders are open. We have tens of thousands of people and men, military-age men now coming in. How's that sovereign, Jim? Or how's that sovereign to any of those candidates? It's not. And we don't care about our own sovereignty, but they're ranting and raving about other countries' sovereignty. You know, it's so hypocritical. It's unbelievable. I don't know, like, what are the people going to do here? It's a done deal. It's a lost cause. One of these people are going to become president in the next few months. It's an embarrassment. With the vote, and how do we change that rule? That, I mean, and to me, it's actually criminal what this government have done, what these main parties have done to block good candidates from running to the election. This should be looked into again. This all should be archived, and this was a systematic attempt to destroy democracy in this country and avoid having somebody there in a position of power, limited power as it may be, but to avoid somebody that good to get in, that will show them up for what they are. And it's where
pissed a lot of people off. It's pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And this will spoil your vote. This, in fact, there is as much of a swell on this spoil your vote campaign now that there is to actually get people to go out and vote for one of those three efforts, whether it be Connolly, whether it be Humphreys, or whether it be Jim Gavin. The push now is to say, can we get more people to write Maria Steen on that ballot than actually vote for any of the presidential candidates? Of course, it's not going to put her into the office of presidency. It's not going to happen, but it could be the ultimate humiliation, because you've got to think to yourself right now, Mayhole Martin endorsing Jim Gavin at the minute, it's not going particularly well for him. The same thing could be said about Harris and co endorsing Humphreys. But like I said, you've got this, this axis of evil endorsing Connolly, and people before profit, the Social Democrats, Sinn Féin, and people like Umar al-Qadri. He's even backed her as well. So to me, they say, if you show me a man's company or a woman's company, I'll show you their conduct. Judge someone. You can judge someone to an extent by the company they keep, and hers isn't exactly what you would call quality company.
And the irony of Al-Qadri supporting Katherine Connolly, I mean, he'd be the first, or his ideology would be the first one to throw her off a building and get rid and dispose of these left-wing communists, because their usefulness will be not needed anymore. So it's, I don't know. What can you say? What more can you say?
And this is only the first one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's at least another two of these shows, shambolic displays, public displays. I'm sure they're not looking forward to them. I'm sure the public's not, but it's like train wreck TV. You can't, you almost feel compelled to watch, and it's like, this is painful. I can't take any more of this, but you're peeking through your eyes. Did he really say that? Did she really say that?
I was sitting there last night looking at it with my mate, and I forced him, and I said, this is penance for you now. You're going to have to watch this with me. I need to watch this.
Torture.
And he was like holding his ears. It was torture. It was torture for the poor lad. But look, such is life, I just do not know what else to say about it. It's horrendous.
Well, do you know what? Listen, we're having, this is serious. This is a serious business, but we are having a bit of a chuckle here. We're having a little bit of pop at some of the candidates. But listen, we're just, human beings ourselves. All we can do is try and make sense of it. And I believe in humor. If you don't laugh, you cry. And things are so grim at the minute and looking to be getting grimmer. If you can hold on to nothing else, the one thing that they cannot take from you is your sense of humor, and that could just be what keeps people's mental health at a level that it rides them through the tsunami of madness that we're currently going through at the minute. So I do appreciate you actually hopping on this morning. It has been heavy going and a little bit grim, but it's also been a bit of crack, hasn't it?
And we have to allow ourselves to laugh at sometimes and ridicule, and we have to allow ourselves to cry sometimes, because there's very, very harsh, sad things happening to our country and to our people. And that's okay. Just allow yourself to do it and embrace it, Bit of laughter and a few tears. That's normal human reactions to, adversity and what's going on,
And also don't be afraid to laugh at ourselves either. We're not perfect. We don't know everything. We don't get everything right. I'm sure a lot of people would sit and dissect what we've just said, who does that guy Munn think he is? And as for Dwyer, who does he think he is talking about this? You're free to that opinion as well. And that's the beauty, Philip. I don't care if someone is for me or against me. They think I'm great. They think I'm the devil. They think I'm an angel, whatever. People should be entitled to their opinions to express them without getting viciously attacked. And that is the whole purpose of doing this too. We're simply putting our expressions forth. If you disagree with them and you're listening, leave a comment below. voice your opinions. We're not going to fall out with you over it. And also, not just laugh at life in general or try and find something to laugh at, but sometimes it's good to laugh at ourselves too, because sometimes I think, we're all just clowns in this big top circus, Philip.
100%. And we wouldn't be in this business if we weren't thick-skinned, and you just have to be. And these three candidates need to develop a thick skin, not to be sending letters, solicitors' letters to social media companies because somebody says something nasty about you. Get on with it. It's part of it. It's just accept it, and we understand what it is. I get the hate every day. You get it every day, I'm sure. And like this, it's not about us. It's about the people who are delivering the hate. That's their issue. They have the problem. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're all talking. What we're really talking about is love, and it's love for common sense, love for your country, love for your fellow countryman, and woman. So that's all we're talking about, and we're trying to preserve that. So. Anyway, we're getting very philosophical here.
Yeah, we're both going to start crying in a minute, I think. We've had our laugh. We're both going to bring out the tears. Yeah. The tears will start to flow soon, but no one wants to see that, I'm pretty sure. But for yourself anyway, big thanks to you for hopping on it. Zero notice. I was just going to put together something, and I thought it might be nice to get another opinion on it, so you have more than delivered on that. Check out the description box below. You'll find a link through to Philip. He operates predominantly on the X or the Twitter platform. Get on there, follow him, see what content he puts up, and support him if you can. He's out and about all over the place, literally putting himself out there on the front line, and he has the scars to prove it. So if you can support him in any way, shape, or form, there's links through on his page to be able to do that. So I'll leave that one with you guys. That's Philip Dwyer. I'm Rick Munn. This is No Risk, No Reward Media, and I am over and out.